or to the club. Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's August session of the Dr. Elizabeth Webb Professional Learning Series. We're really excited tonight to have Dr. Leckie with us, and she is going to be sharing a lot of her work on honoring and leveraging student voices and backgrounds through Photovoice. She has been a very prominent figure among our, I guess, what would you call it, secondary schools, and also serves on the Georgia DEWPLS board. And so I'm very excited to have her presenting to you tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Leckie.
Okay. Thanks, Maria. Let me share my screen. It's not. 1 second. Why it's not letting me?
I can see your screen, so.
You can? Can you show me why it's not letting me? There we go. I'm like, where's my button for slideshow so I can present? Okay, of course, when it's recording. Hi, everybody. Like Maria said, my name is Elisa Leckie. I am a professor at Georgia Southern University, teaching courses for the ESOL endorsement, working with teachers in our region and supporting their multilingual learners. My background, before I came to Georgia Southern, I taught middle school for about 20 years in a dual language program in Tucson, Arizona, in the border community. So my heart and soul is really getting teachers and families and communities connected to really support the educational process of the youth that they're working with and living with. So one of the strategies, structures, approaches we can use is something in the world of research we call Photovoice. So I'm gonna talk to you about what is Photovoice. When I say that term, what does that actually mean? We're gonna look at some examples produced by my graduate students. And then I'm gonna talk to you about how we use Photovoice as an instructional tool, one to help us teach our students language and content, and one to help us learn about students and their families. I'm going to talk to you about why Photovoice is powerful from kindergarten all the way up through my graduate students. And then I'm just going to stop and let you ask me all kinds of questions about how do you actually do it? What does it look like, boots on the ground? All right, so Photovoice really and truly is a research methodology in its true form. Started a long time ago by researchers that were looking in public health. And the goal is really to engage the people in the community to give them a voice in the research process. So often in research, we are researching on people and not with people. And this is particularly true with historically marginalized communities. So this approach of Photovoice really helps bring to the forefront the voices of the community members that are impacted by a topic or issue or problem. Doesn't matter the language that they speak, their level of literacy, their background, their knowledge, their expertise, because we all live in a space and we can use these images to convey ideas, concepts, emotions, and facts. So what you see on this screen is the researchy piece, right? This is when I work with my graduate students. What you're going to see a couple of examples from them. They really took the time to document and reflect on their local communities where they live, learn, and teach. They pulled in their participants, the students and community members, to help them think about a topic or a problem that was important and relevant to them. Then they sent them out cameras and they said, great, I need you to use pictures to answer these questions, which is great in and of itself if you stopped right there. But the powerful piece is when you bring all of the pictures together from all of those different community members and all of those voices that are different representations of examples of or solutions to topics, problems, and concerns. And then those images really foster that dialogue and description and possibly solutions. So that sounds great. But if I'm a K-12 teacher, that's really not relevant and meaningful for me, right? Like we are not going to send our students out to do really in-depth research projects like my graduate students do. But there are ways that we can use this approach to really develop language and engage our students in critical thinking, K-12. So like I said, the first thing you do, regardless, is if it's K-12 or in graduate school with my students, we need a topic, a question, a problem, an issue. Like, what are we concerned about? What do we want to know more about? What do we want to explore? And this is really the most critical piece for you as the teacher, as the facilitator, is helping formulate those questions, helping define the topic, helping set your students / participants up for success to gather those images. Because when you send them out into their homes and their communities to take pictures, you really want them to have a way to connect that picture as an example of the topic, problem, issue, concern, or as a solution to that topic, problem, issue, or concern. Then you pull all of those people together with their varied pictures and you foster some conversation. And again, this is where your role as the teacher is really critically important. Coming up with the questions to guide those small group conversations. And then they create a product. It could be an individual essay. It could be a group project. It could be a poster. It could be a 5-paragraph essay. So whatever you want to use these images to create, that's up to you and your learning goals and your purposes, but having a product is essential. So let's take a look at 2 examples, both done by my graduate students. The first one really starts with the community members, and I'll talk to you about her rationale for that. And then the second one is an example of where we're pulled in students and their experiences to help them explore what was happening in their world. All right, so let's cross our fingers. I love when technology works. I'm always iffy, especially when we're recording. So I'm going to scroll through some of this quickly because it is less germane to our role or goal here, but I'm going to give you a minute to read Faye's questions. So she is in the city of Savannah, and the Hispanic Latino community in the city of Savannah has really it's kind of hidden, right? It's not celebrated. It's really not a prominent part of our community. And so her goal is like, why? Like, why and what are we doing? Like, how can we celebrate? How can we elevate? How can we show all the strength and vibrancy and resilience of our Latino community in Savannah? Okay. So I'll give you just a second because there's a lot of words on those 6 tiles. And then my students have to do some background on the community to set the scene, to set the stage for me. So I'm just gonna kind of scroll through that. Okay. And then what she did is she interviewed all of these community leaders in Savannah, asked them questions about all of those questions that you saw on those 6 tiles, took pictures of them when they're out and about, and also asked them to send her pictures that they thought represented their participation contribution of their aspect of the Latino community. So I'm just going to scroll through these so you get a sense. Right? Individuals, organizations. So really just, wow, what a great, powerful contribution the Latino community is making in Savannah. So we're in the process actually right now of getting these created poster size and finding places to display them in Savannah to really kind of highlight and celebrate. The images are just so powerful. Let me see if I can get back to my slideshow. So let's take a look at one. Okay. So here's her. Find out her questions. This is her background. She's setting the stage for us, very concerned about mental health among teenagers, particularly in her high school. So she's setting the stage with us. Here's her participants who she interviewed. And then here's her student participants. So she sent her students out with cameras and said, show me some reasons for solutions to what causes mental health struggles, challenges, what gives you that anxiety, what represent that for us. And then also represent for us what helps, right? What are some solutions? What makes you feel better? Who are the allies in your work? So highlighting the students and their voices and their experiences to really help them come together to think about these solutions. So not only was she able to learn herself and inform her school counselor about what was going on in the lives of these students, they were able to connect. So the conversations that these students had about these pictures was really powerful for her as their teacher, but also for them as developing adolescents. So I'm just going to scroll through and notice that sometimes they are actual pictures that students have taken, but sometimes they are images that they've gotten from the internet, which is a really practical thing when you're working with students and having them pull images. Yes, I want to say most of our students have access to cell phones, but not all of our students have access to cell phones. Can they bring them into class? How do we get the pictures off of the phone into our computer? There's all of those challenges and issues with students bringing in images, but the internet also provides some images, and what a great lesson on citing your sources. Okay, so you see some of family and then some from the internet. Okay. Right. All right, so let me go back to my slideshow again. So two very different looks and feels and approaches to those Photovoice projects, but that's the beauty of it. I have used these projects in my classes for many, many semesters, and they are all unique, individual, visually very different, organized differently, because we are gathering those images, those thoughts and ideas, and organizing our presentation, our product in a way that helps those images and the language associated with those images make sense. So think of the critical thinking skills that students are using when they are starting from an image, putting language on top of that image, grouping language and image together, and identifying what unites these images and those words together. That is some really powerful critical thinking skills. And it's facilitated by the fact that they are using images and that they have identified and brought in images of themselves, their families, and their communities, images that they already have a connection to, that they have selected, that help tell their story, that honor their voice. So there are a couple of instructional tool ways that are straightforward applications of using a Photovoice project and process. One, clearly to augment student writing, right? How often do we as teachers of multilingual learners say, give them a picture, right? When they're describing what's in a picture, it gives them something to build off of. It gives them that foundation that they can expand and build upon. So it really does help develop that language. And really, that organization of those images and the words they're attaching to those images helps them structure, here's my claim, mental health would be better if counselors, blah, 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 right? What's your evidence? What images do you have to support that claim? How can we use the details in these images to provide some description and examples to really help our reader understand what we're trying to convey? Okay? Really using the images as the source for language development and for critical thinking. We can also use it in ways that are not focused on a problem or an issue, but instead focused on a topic. So think about the power of sending students home with their cameras or their phones or whatever we're able to do, and you're studying erosion in your science class and having them take pictures of erosion in their community. Where do they see erosion happening around their house? How can we make that relevant and meaningful for them? We can also, of course, use the computer and the internet to do that and do those searches, but it's just really powerful. If I see erosion happening in my backyard, it's teaching me also to be a careful observer of my environment, which is right in line with science standards. So really finding ways to equip students to show applications of what they're learning in school in their home and community life. So I'm going to also give you an example of how we can use Photovoice to help us learn more about our students and our families. While, like I said, I taught for 20 years in Latino community, border community in Tucson, Arizona. I know a lot about the Latino community in Tucson, Arizona. I don't know a lot about our emerging Korean community because we have the Hyundai plant down in Savannah in Southeast Georgia. It's an immigrant community that I really don't know anything about. I don't have any cause to. I work with teachers who have students from 7 or 8 different countries in their classroom. It's really hard to learn about all of those different communities and all of those different families and customs traditions. And Photovoice is really a way that you can have that window into the lives of your students and your families. And this is an example of how Photovoice was used with young children, right? Because it's really easily applicable to middle school and high school students who have their cell phones, who you can trust to go take pictures and have that technical savvy, so to speak. It's harder with kindergartners, second graders to send them out with the cell phone to take pictures. So what does that look like? How can we make that work? And so this example is one way. So I'm going to scroll through her. Scrolly thing pops up. Okay. Her background, her history. Oh, here's her questions. So she just, beginning of the school year, is trying to learn about her students. They're coming from a bunch of different countries. She wants to know about how they study and how they learn when they're at home. What excites them about their learning about their home country and their home culture? What are their traditions? What resources do they use? Do they have accessible at home? So that she can help develop their student success with schooling here in the United States. But if she doesn't know where they're starting from and what access to resources they already have, it just makes it more difficult. So these were prompts. She did not, she sent these prompts home with students, but the parents took the pictures because these were very young children. So she also sent it home to the parents with her email address saying, if you could take pictures in answer to any of these questions, please just take a picture and email them to me. They could also send in hard copies of pictures that she scanned in. If they had other family and traditions, you might see a couple of those. But there was the parents' role to send in the pictures, right? And not the children's role. And what a great way to begin communication with parents, especially now that we have Class Dojo and all of these tools that will translate into parents' preferred languages at home. Sending home parent tasks has become a lot more doable than it was even just a few short years ago. All right, so here's your questions. So you're going to see that it's clear that the parent took the picture, but then the teacher had the conversation with the child about the picture. So she's prompting that language development. She's learning about the children based on pictures that were taken by the parents, not by the children themselves. So another one. This is one of my favorite pictures because it highlights all of the assets and things that families bring to the classroom. I mean, she's helping him fix his car engine. Like, that's what I do in the afternoons. Like, that's an image of that child that's going to stick with me, right? And it's something that I wouldn't expect. I also know that she was really intentional about telling parents they did not need to include their children's faces in the pictures. So you'll see that on the previous slide and on this slide, we can't see the child's face, right? That is a concern for parents, particularly in today's age of social media and all of that. Like, some parents are very concerned. And then she also included examples of, like, this is what a picture could look like, where you're taking a picture of your child doing something without their face in it. And here's another one about, this is where we do our homework. So now I have a visual. They're twins. I think they're twins, or they're only 1 year apart. This is their desk area. This is where they study and they do their homework. Okay,
Destiny, what do you mean it's not showing on the presentation? Oh, is she frozen?
no, I'm good.
No, it's good for me.
Destiny, can you see the slideshow?
It looks like she's maybe frozen.
Okay,
She just
maybe.
put something in the chat, so I wasn't
Okay.
sure before you went further, but it's
I can
moving fine
see
for
it.
me.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay,
good. Okay.
great. There we go. Just seeing some more. And so what a great tool to get to know your families and their student or their children, your students, and value everything that they bring to the classroom, what they're doing at home to support their students, and valuing their voice. Like, they're choosing the pictures of their children to send to you. They're helping make those choices about how to represent their family to you, their teacher. So really honoring not only students' voice and choice, but parents' voice as well. So here's why it works. Here's why it is so absolutely powerful. Aside from valuing all of those voices of students and families and community members, which is great and really powerful, it really helps make connections. We're always talking about building background knowledge, being that bridge between home and school. Photovoice is a way that will do that and develop language at the same time. It's building those connections. It's helping me learn. I learned so much from these projects that my students produce and that their students produce, and the language development opportunities for all of your students, as well as that critical thinking. And the other piece, I am a huge proponent of students doing more work than I'm doing. And what a Photovoice project does is it puts a lot of the work, the gathering of the images, the production of the language on students, and not me doing a lot of that thinking for them. They're bringing those images in. They're not given to me already where I already have a preconceived answer or idea for how I want to organize this inquiry or this research. So really helping students take on the onus of the work. And your role as the teacher, the instructor, is to come up with really good question to send them off, to gather those pictures, and then to facilitate those really rich conversations to promote that critical thinking. That is your role, and it's powerful. All right, I am going to stop sharing my screen, Maria, because my next slide just says questions. So I'll take questions about how to do it, speed bumps along the way, ideas for topics, anything that I can help answer so that you might even consider integrating Photovoice into your instruction.
It
Hi,
kind of
I have a
reminds
question.
me. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I have a question. What platform or what software do you use to make your slides or your documents?
Canva.
Canva. Okay, that's what I
Yep.
was thinking that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, gotta love Canva. And Canva's great too, because as I'm sure you all know, because you said Canva like you're a Canva addict like myself. But Canva's great too, because once the students produce that whatever they're producing in English, it'll automatically, you can set it to another language and you can send it home to their parents in their home language. Right. So they get to see what their students are producing.
Yes.
I know their Spanish translations are pretty on target. I don't know about any of the other languages because I'm not good at those other languages, but it seems to be pretty accurate.
So I'm a teacher in Cobb County School District, and I teach what we call intensive English learners, like our newbies, our new babies. How would I use Photo Voice for students with limited English, like very, very limited English?
Yeah, I would send them out. Like I would make use of whatever translation, if you have multiple languages in your room that you don't speak, to help them understand the purpose of the project in their home language. Like I think that's a really valuable use of home language, is to help students understand that their task, right? And what a great way to teach us about your home country, right? Or
Okay.
show us, take us on a tour of your new community. Like, what are you interested about? What questions do you have about your new community? What do you see that you're like, what in the world is this? We don't have these. So like you could send them on a quest or a task, and have them take those pictures. Kamisha, what grade level?
They can range from anything from 9th through 11th.
Oh, high school. Great.
Yes,
Perfect.
high school.
So you can send them out with their cell phones if they have cell phones. If you have a photography class in your building, they might have cameras that you can borrow. You might have like tablets or Chromebooks that you could send students, you could lend out for that technology and to be able to upload. And then,
Okay.
yeah, I would have them work with a partner
Okay.
to especially if you have partners that speak the same home language, because they can talk about their ideas and do that critical thinking in their home language, because we need that to still happen for these adolescents. And then whatever they're like, what questions do you have about your community? What are those sentence frames? Like, who is this? Where is this? What is this for? Right?
Okay.
And then we could spend some time, maybe you get like, and then you could have another group do some Googling and answer some of those questions, or maybe you have answer those questions. I think you could structure that in different ways, but you're getting them to either ask questions about their new neighborhood, new community, or tell me about where you come from and who you are. Like they can bring in those pictures of home. They can take pictures, of course, with their cell phones or what have you, but so they can all learn about each other. And then you just provide the sentence frames. Like be
Okay.
very kind of structured, this is my house. I want pictures about your house. And here's all some words we might want to include in the description of our house. And like if you have access, I'm a little old school, so we used to have these great picture dictionaries for our newcomer students. And if you would just open up to the house page, and you could have some vocabulary development happening there.
Yes. The OPD books.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. So it's not just me. I love that resource, because that's what they need. Our brand new students, they need all of those words, all of those really concrete words that we'll add descriptors on later. Right. But first I need to know the words. And once I know those words and those basic structures, then I can expand, but build a solid foundation. And what a great way to do something now, Kamisha, at this point in the school year, and then something in April, right? And
Yes.
what a
Yes.
great way to truly assess language development for these newcomers.
That's going to be great. Thank you.
Of course, of course. And Kamisha, if you have questions, Dr. Thornhill, Destiny as well, if you're trying to implement and you're like, what did she say? How do I do this? Or I'm stuck, just send me an email. Like Destiny knows, like I'll set up a Zoom and we'll talk, we'll walk through it, just so that you're successful, because it should be fun for you as the teacher too. Like this is one of the reasons, it's one of the things I like to do with my students, because I learn so much and I have so much fun. And it's not a worksheet.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah, please do. Please do. All right. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas? Great. You all have my email address. Do they all have my email address? I was on the first slide.
Yep, I will go back to that.
Oh, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can.
I also want to know if you can go back to the slide that had the prompts for the photo voice for students to complete.
Oh, that would be yours. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Let me see. Okay. So let me The students that were the young children or the teenagers?
The young children, I'm in elementary.
Oh, great. Yeah. So let me find.
But those were fun.
Yeah.
Because I
I mean,
was definitely working with my grandpa on his truck. That was me.
Yeah. Right? And just the things you learn about your students, like what do you like to do when I'm not studying? I like to work on my dad's car engine. Like never would I ever, right?
Yeah.
And of course you can switch these prompts, these questions to, whatever you're focused on, and it might be different for the age group, but I don't know. But these are some good ideas. She wanted to learn about them as learners.
Mhm.
Okay. Are we good on those prompts?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me go back to my, there.
This is wonderful. I'm so excited. I can't wait to share it with teachers during our faculty meeting or during
Yeah.
collaborative planning.
Yeah, and let me know if there's anything you want from me that will be helpful to help you share that with them. It's such a powerful tool, from the researcher, the nerd in me that needs to be the researcher and really be formal about this process, to the middle school teacher that just wants my students to develop their critical thinking. And now I supervise in first grade and second grade classrooms all the time, to them using it to learn about their students and their families. I mean, it just is applicable, however, to graduate students.
It's
So
awesome.
so my email's here on the screen, and in full honesty and transparency, send me an email. We'll set up a time. We'll talk through it. I'll share any resources and materials that I have with you.
Right.
And
That's very gracious of you.
Yeah, well, and that's for
Mhm.
those of you that are watching the recording as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yes, the recording will be made available. It should go out to you, and thank you, Dr. Lucky, for sharing this wonderful resource and great ideas. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a
Anyone
good night,
else?
everybody. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Anyone else have anything else they'd like to add or questions? So I'm just going to share really quick that our next speaker will be in September on developing a conference session, strategies and tips. We do have our conference coming up, and we look forward to seeing you at the end of October in Athens. So we're really excited about the conference. And also, if you haven't been already, please visit our website. We have limited edition merchandise that we're showcasing in advance of our conference that's coming up. So just make sure you go there, and we look forward to seeing you again in September for our next session. And thank you again, Dr. Lecky, for sharing with us. And thank you all for coming tonight. We appreciate you.
Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.